All right. Well, that's only 2 chapters, actually, wasn't it? It was Luther's and Roberto's, and we've been streaming for about 2 hours now. Yeah, almost 2 hours. So I would like to take a short break, move my feet around, get off my butt, get something to drink, maybe even something to eat. But I say we'll take a break for maybe around 30 or 40 minutes, and then we are going to do some more. I think we have 4 chapters left. Let me check my notes. Yep, we have 4 chapters left, but these are some of the longer chapters. But we're going to have some fun. We're going to finish playing this. I'm hoping we will get it finished tonight, but that still remains to be seen. So, take some time, move around, stretch out, enjoy the break, and I will be back shortly. See you in a little while. Okay, Roberto's chapter is finished. And you hear that? Sounds like dirt or something falling. There is some dirt falling. Look over here. Should Alex survey the area? An unseen force guides Alex's hands towards the painting, compelling her to look behind it. She reaches out and pulls back the painting and discovers a chapter page hidden behind it. A sense of familiarity overcomes her as the chapter page comes to her fingers. So does the realization that Roberto's spirit is aiding her. Alright, Alex has found a chapter entitled A War to End All Wars. Ooh, what do we have here? Oh, it's Pius being a creep again.
The Black Guardian grows restless, my liege. Its hunger increases, and the binding continues to weaken. We feed it flesh, but I fear it will not guard the relic too much longer.
There is no choice in the matter. It must remain and guard the artifact until the time of planetary alignment. After that, the Guardian may return to its lair. Our master does not like failure. It is imperative to keep the binding intact.
Then we have to find more flesh and bone.
So Pius and his monk were talking about that guardian that they had summoned earlier, the one that had killed Paul Luther a few chapters back. Now, we have a chapter page here called The War to End All Wars. And those of you who are familiar with history know that the First World War was referred to as the War to End All Wars. Alright, it appears to be a page from the Tome of Eternal Darkness, and it is entitled A War to End All Wars.
The War to End All Wars redefined how mankind looked at war and the value of human life. Over 19,000 men lost their lives every day in the trenches of the Somme. Some say uselessly, some invoke a higher cause. I read accounts of the slaughter from many journalists who spent time in the trenches, but I found the account of a certain Peter Jacob to be the most horrible of all. His implication about the ancients' involvement with the war was hideous and so obvious. With the horror of the Battle of the Somme scant miles away and the distant echoes of pounding artillery, a young journalist named Peter Jacob researched his latest story from the front lines. His grim task brought him to Oubliette Cathedral, now transformed
So we're in
into a
Amiens,
field
France
hospital.
again, in 1916. I'm just going to sip my drink.
I find no solace in the purpose behind all the senseless violence that surrounds me. Young men die at a rate unheard of in centuries of warfare. Shelling, machine guns, mustard gas, rip, pierce and burn their flesh. Men soak gauze in their own urine to stop the insidious gas. The hospitals here cannot cope with the torrent of wounded.
Yeah, we're back in the cathedral, and look, the cathedral has been turned into a makeshift hospital. Now, hospital might not be the right word, but they are keeping the wounded here. And Paul had a vision of something like this. And we can even hear the sound of artillery fire, firearms, and planes. Alright, so before we get too far into this chapter, pardon me, we're playing Peter Jacob. Now, Peter here is voiced by Michael Bell. Michael Bell is a very famous name in the world of voice acting. And just like, say, Cam Clark or Neil Ross, I couldn't possibly do enough justice to his resume in a minute or two. But some of his more notable works are from, like, say, G.I. Joe, where he was the voice of Duke. He was in Darkwing Duck as the voice of Quackerjack. He also did several voices in the cartoon series Rugrats, such as Chaz Finster, Drew Pickles, and Grandpa Boris. He was also in Voltron, Voltron being a personal favorite of mine, where he voiced both Lance and Sven. And inside the world of video games, he also has a lot of work. He was Raziel in all of the Legacy of Kain games. And likewise, how almost everyone else was a Metal Gear character, he was the Fear. A soldier's letter lies on the table, waiting to be sent home. First letter from Private Reginald Jackson to his love Margaret. I was admitted to the hospital on Tuesday. The damage caused to my leg was slight, but there is no way I could ever walk normally again. I hate this place. Every day I am reminded that I will never be able to do the things I love. The hospital is a very strange place. Converted from an old cathedral, there is an odd atmosphere around it. Silent, but for the words of the wounded calling out in the night. There is no doubt it is haunted. What I find most odd in this place is that you never see anyone leave during the day. It's not right. No goodbyes or farewells. Just empty beds when you wake. Now, Jacob has no weapons, but he was a photographer, and he has a flash pan and some flash powder. This is a photographer's flash pan, used to hold combustible powders that, when ignited, create a large white flash. This can be used to stun some enemies. A pouch of flash powder for use with a photographic flash pan. So using this device here, he can create a blinding flash of light, and it will stun some of the weaker enemies. And he has a lucky penny. An old coin marked in a particular manner. It has held sentimental value for someone. Whoever holds the penny will undoubtedly receive good fortune. So let's look around a little bit. The faint sounds of moaning emanate from behind the linen veils. Whispered utterances, frantic prayers to loved ones. Words offered only by those who face their mortality. Yep, same as before. Let's go talk to these people. The soldier is rather distressed. Perhaps he has lost a lot of friends to the trenches of the Psalms. He finds that the only stories are sad ones, and that only true heroes are in the mortuary. With a motherly voice, the nurse advises that Peter get some rest. While that's probably good advice, I don't think he's going to get much rest. Now we read what you had to say. So when we were here with Paul Luther, there was a door down this way. But now there's a Magical circle here. What is that, 7 points? Yeah, there's a 7-point magical circle here with a Xel'lotath rune in the middle of it. Peter has not got his Tome of Eternal Darkness yet, so he can't do any magic. Alright, Peter finds a sealed envelope that seems to have been left behind. A sealed envelope. It looks rather official. Alright, we have soldiers' orders. An official note on Army Regulation Stationery. The note reads, Private Thompson, by order of Lieutenant Hargraves on behalf of the HRH George 5, you are to leave your post of duty and rally in the streets outside of the Oubliette Cathedral. Further orders will be presented at the rallying point. God save the King. Well, the tabernacle is still over here. The Cathedral's tabernacle is fashioned from aged varnished mahogany. Its doors are closed and there doesn't appear to be any way of opening it manually. Well, we the player know how to open it, but Peter the character does not. The guard quietly but strongly points out that the area is off limits to civilians. The guard frowns and ushers Peter away from the organ. He explains that it is one of the few antiques in the region that has so far survived the war, and that while he's alive it will remain intact. Now there's another guard over here too. Abruptly, the guard asks if Peter has clearance for the old tower, as it is a restricted area. Well, we do not. Poor guy's sucking wind. Hey, what if we just try to leave? With the war being so close, a curfew has been imposed. Traveling outside the hospital is not a safe thing to do. Since intruders will likely be shot on sight, Peter decides to remain inside. Oh, hello. Stacked deeply on the landing, crates of medical supplies await use. Syrettes of morphine, bandages, tourniquets, antiseptics. The list goes on and on. Alright, the nurse has nothing to say. Oh, and here's something. A soldier's letter sits atop a crate of medical supplies. Second letter from Private Reginald Jackson to his love, Margaret. I've been here for over a week now, and there's no word when I will be allowed to leave. Strange things have happened. At night the sounds of the hospital change. Echoes of voices that don't belong to anyone haunt the walls and corridors. The restless ghost, perhaps, or the sounds of movements or whispers. I've seen war firsthand, and the sounds at night in this hospital scare me more than I had ever thought possible. What is going on here at night? I feel so threatened. My fears are worsened by the talk of the other young soldiers. One said he had heard cries in the middle of the night, cries that were not only answered by snarls of rage, and not compassion. Another said Lance Corporal Haskill had not been discharged, but had gone missing. I stare at his empty bed with a sense of unholy dread gnawing at my heart. I don't think there's anything up in the bell tower, but we could take a look. The guard shifts about, obviously bored with his duty and awaiting a replacement or perhaps a call to arms. Well, if he's waiting for a call to arms, we have just the thing. The guard unfolds the orders and begins to read them before exclaiming, "Well de all, lad, we must be on the offensive." Following the orders, he takes leave of his post. So he's happy to go out and fight and kill and die. We, on the other hand, are going to check the room he was guarding. And it doesn't look good. Stacked like logs, Peter stands before the price of human war. The bloody corpses of young men who have made their ultimate sacrifice to defend their own countries and those of others. But there is something useful here. A revolver lies abandoned on a nearby pew. Should Peter pick the revolver up? Of course. Well, then again, maybe not. Ooh. Now it's Peter's turn to go to the mysterious dimension. And we take a look here. There is a new statue. And this is Roberto. So those of you who were asking earlier, yeah, Roberto ends up trapped here as well. Alright, we have the tome. So the first thing I'm going to do is put up a magical barrier for us. This will help protect us, because we're really not prepared to fight enemies, even though we have a revolver. And look, there's one right now. Ah, that poor woman. See, there are bone thieves about, and there are people who have been possessed by bone thieves. And here's another goodie. A rifle lies in the altar, probably discarded by a fleeing guard. Alright, we have a rifle now. A rifle is better for what we need, but still not the best thing. A piece of very old paper sits on the pipe organ, callously misplaced and forgotten. But it's a sheet of music. So we have a couple of new things to take a look at. A Lebel model 1892 revolver was introduced prior to World War I. A double-action pistol with 6-shot swing-out cylinder chambered for 8mm French service ammunition. This Lee Enfield Mark III bolt-action rifle are legends in their own time. Completely reliable even under adverse conditions, over 3 million were produced in Britain, India, and Australia. Now here's the sheet of music. A piece of parchment with some musical notations written on it. It is somewhat tattered, probably through years of use. Now the sheet... dang it. I would use the sheet music right now, but we're kind of being overwhelmed by enemies. One of the cathedral's guards lies dead by his post. His death was sudden and violent, his broken limbs twisted at odd angles, with a trickle of blood issuing from his mouth and ears. Now, if you see, there are 2 doors here for us to explore now. Not much light, though. Like Marie Cestille, this desk hasn't been touched in some time, as though its user would suddenly turned away and never returned. A half-written letter bespeaks silent, unfinished activity. Alright, now we have some ammunition for our revolver. Alright, nothing to say about that. Or that. And some ammunition for a rifle. Now we're getting somewhere. A desk kept meticulously clean. Peter is surprised that it is not more chaotic for a frontline hospital. After all, isn't this where the death certificates are written? Oh, rat. The workings of the pipe organ have remained mostly the same since installation. Originally, the bellows were manually driven. Now they are steam-powered and the organ controlled electronically. This might be one of the oldest restored pipe organs in the world. Back here is where we found the secret passage. Actually, hang on. I'm going to enchant the revolver. That's mostly because I want it towards the top of the inventory. Oh, dang it. One of them got us. Alright, we don't really need to be here, so I'm going to try to take the fastest way out. And that's to jump in when it turns purple. Though there is a zombie over here. Okay, no more trappers, but there is a body. A soldier's body lies on the floor. Far from the front line, this poor man met his end. His fate is far removed from his brothers in arms, a victim of the cathedral rather than by bullet or bayonet. Alright, casks full of maturing wine line the cellar amidst the wraths of the cold air. When the war is over, if it ever is, the wine will be a good vintage. Now, one of these was hollow and empty, but that no longer seems to be the case. But there are two new doors. Now this one brings us to a generator. This device appears to be a steam-powered generator. It sits idly waiting for steam to be supplied to it. There is a lever, presumably to switch the generator on and off. Well, let's turn it on. There's a grating of metal on metal, but nothing else. There is no steam coming into the generator. Alright, so we need to get the steam going. Now back over here there is something. Perched on the wall besides the generator is an open-faced fuse box. A fuse appears to be missing. There's no sign of where it could be. Alright, so keep our eyes open. We may need a fuse. Old, rusty, but faithful for many years, a coal burner boiler provides heat and steam to the cathedral complex. There is currently no pressure being diverted to the generator. Should Peter turn the wheel? Yeah, he should. Now, while the steam generator is now working, there's more going on in this room, and you might miss it if you're not paying attention. Like this door. The door is unlocked, but won't open. It is as if there's something large on the other side blocking its movement. And look here. There's a big hole in the wall. We've had to take advantage of holes in the wall before. Hey, where's all our items?
This can't be happening!
Oh, you tricky sanity effects. What we're going to do is we're going to summon a trapper. This little bugger is going to go on the wall. And look, there's a power circle here. There's a body against the wall. The body of a soldier, a patient from the hospital, lies slumped against the door. Trying to hide from the horror, he had barricaded himself inside the room before succumbing to his wounds. Now this is something that might not, well, really seem all that intuitive. This room is used to store coal for use in the steam boiler that powers the cathedral's generator. Small piles are all that's left, and with the almost endless war, a resupply seems a long way off. We actually want to use the trapper to target this body, and then use its power to send the body to the trapper dimension. Now this kills the trapper. But it allows us inside to get the 7-point magic circle. So, now that we have the 7-point power circle, we can cast spells with 7 runes. Now, just like we did with the 5-point rune, they're all 3-point spells that are just powered up with the tier rune, or it's the tier rune, I think. So we're going to start from the top and work our way down. Mantarok, and enchant item is project an item. Now Paragon. 7-point spells are the most powerful we're going to cast in the game. Technically. They will last the longest, restore the most health, do the most damage, and so forth. Alright, next is recovery. We need to absorb and self. There's self. There's absorb. Next is reveal invisible, which is absorb an area. And then 4 paragons. Alright, next is damage field, which requires protect an area. So 4 paragons. There's area, and there's protect. After that is what? Dispel magic. So that requires dispel an area. Paragon. Okay, for this next spell, we can't use Mantarok, because Mantarok is not strong enough to cast summoning magic. So we're going to use Chattur'gha. So we need 4 paragons, and we're going to cast the summon spell. So we need summon and creature. So that's spell 10. We've summoned trappers and we've summoned zombies. Can any of you guess what spell 10 summons? So we're going to keep going with Manta Rock, and we're going to cast the shield spell, which is Protect and Self. Let's Protect. There's Self, and then plenty of Paragon. Just sprinkle a little Paragon on it. That's all you need. Now I pressed the buttons a little too fast, but we still got it. Alright, now this is spell 9. I don't think we've learned the name of spell 9 yet. But we need Project an Area. Paragon, 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 Paragon. Area and Project. Yep, that's spell 9. Now this is one that I like a lot. This is spell 11. Oh, wait. We need what? Summon an area. Now you've seen me using spell 11 already. Spell 11 puts the symbol over us that, depending on the symbol, will start to slowly regenerate that aspect over time. So using it with Manta Rock means all 3 aspects of our health, our sanity, and our magic slowly recuperate. And that one, I'm going to assign. We're going to assign it to right. And let's see. Nope, pressed the wrong button. There is one more spell to cast, so let's cast that too. We'll use Chattur'gha. We'll use all them Paragons. And we need Protect and Creature. There's Creature. No, that's Project. That's the wrong one. There's Protect. There's Creature, and there's all our Paragons. So at this point we now know every spell at all 3 power levels. Now, at different points of the game, it's better to have different spells in different slots, but generally speaking, I like to have enchant item to the opposing element attached to the Y button. I like to have the level 1 recover set to the up button. I like spell 11 set to left. And what do I want? I put shield for down, which again, shield I like to have as the opposing alignment. To the best of my knowledge, it doesn't make a huge difference, but if shield is sent to Manta Rock, the shield becomes offensive in nature, and the orbs will actually seek out and attack enemies. Reveal Invisible is generally good for most of the game, although there are some times where I prefer to switch it with Magic Attack. And a same idea, we'll set that to Chattur'gha, and that should do it. Also, we need to save, because if I die at any point after this, we would lose all those spells we just researched. The generator is working, but doesn't appear to be providing power to all the circuits of the cathedral. Perhaps a fuse is blown. There is a lever to switch the generator on and off. Well, let's try turning it on. Nope, still nothing. It's the circuit broken. Well, we haven't found a fuse yet. Come on, Peter. It's not that bad. But we do have something we could use as a makeshift fuse. That's right, our lucky penny. In a rush of inventiveness, Peter jams his lucky penny in place of the fuse. Amazingly, it works. The fuse has been replaced. The generator has a steady supply of steam, and all the circuits appear to be intact. There is a lever to switch the generator on and off. Alright, we've got power back. Oh, that's a problem. No, what do you mean the controller's unplugged? Oh, god damn it.
This can't be happening.
Well, thankfully it wasn't happening. That was all a ruse. Alright, all those enemies are still up here. Oh, kaboom, yo! Just destroyed that. Actually, are they still all up here? Well, I'm not going to take chances. We're going to keep moving. An incredibly old but well-preserved pipe organ. The workmanship is quite exquisite, but borders on the grotesque. Tiny demonic figures hide within the swirling facade designs, almost invisible to the eye. Should Peter play the organ? Alright, well, it's the same sheet music that it's been the last couple of times, but now it's damaged, so it's harder to see the notes. But I'm pretty sure we can still figure it out. I actually really like that. Oh, there's one of them. Actually, if you're by yourself, we can probably handle you. You missed. Didn't miss that time. Are we too close? Uh-oh. Okay, let's go grab what's in the tabernacle and get out of here. No, don't reload. You foolish fool. The tabernacle is almost empty. Empty of all the other things that should be there, such as holy water or other ritualistic items. There's only a door handle laying on the lower shelf. Okay, let's try to rush past these enemies, because our shield is no longer up. Oh great, a third. I'm sorry, lady. Some of the NPCs we can save. Some of them were not so lucky. But talking about lucky, an aged wooden plaque on the wall bears a two-edged sword. Now we have our melee weapon, and we can handle these enemies. What do you say we enchant it? And that has the most powerful enchantment on it, so it will last the longest out of them all. But this area, it was once a nice library. Now it's barren and just awful. The room has fallen into disuse. The shelves, once full of books and scrolls, are now rife with dust, bearing nothing but trash and debris. now we are equipped to deal with you. I'm sorry that that happened to you, lady, but we will kill the creature that did it to you. Like you. So even though this game is still several years old and I've played through it maybe a dozen or so times, there are still things that I'm finding in here. Like for the longest time, I did not know that there was a torch here against this wall, and that we could take it. Now a torch isn't exactly a big deal, but it's something I didn't know about until, well, recently. And these enemies do not like torches. But this area is full of ammunition. Boxes of metal supplies, awaiting use and treatment. Covered with bloody fingerprints, it's hard to tell whether they are actually used to save lives or just to relieve the suffering. The room has been converted into a rudimentary morgue. Bloodstained sheets cover the unfortunate souls who have passed beyond. Alright, I do believe that that is everything in here. Okay, let's go show those ruffians what for. Get off. See, you can't jump on me when I got my shield up. Alright, 7-point magical circle here requires, I think, a 7-point reveal invisibility. An odd collection of colored lines decorate the wall. Below the design, steps appears to lead up into the wall, going nowhere. Well, let's try reveal invisible first. Aligned with Chattur'gha. And there's a door. After the magic has taken hold, a heavy oak door is revealed. Scratches and dents infest the wood, telling a long, dark story. It's missing its handle. There seems to be no way to open it. Well, that's not entirely accurate, because we have a door handle. A door handle for an obscure door. It doesn't appear to belong to any particular door in sight. Okay, plenty of ammunition in here. How are you doing on health? A little low. Alright, Peter is starting to go down to the secret areas of the church. Oh, bone thief. Two of you, huh? We are messed up. Might want to retreat and lick our wounds. Okay, first things first, a new shield spell. And how about next we enchant our sword? Now, how strong of a healing spell can I cast? Alright, full power. Let's go show them what for. You're doing okay. Ooh, that's a guardian. But it's a green guardian. We have red sword. Oh, trapper. I'm not gonna let you guys get us. Well, I'm not gonna let you. You might anyways. You are bone thieves. And what do we have here? Tattered letter. A tattered letter lies forgotten on the chair. Third letter from Private Reginald Jackson to his love Margaret. It's been 2 weeks since Haskell went missing, and I'm afraid to go to sleep. More than once I saw the shadows of people moving past my bed, peeking through the blinds to see a wounded soldier being taken from his bed, drugged and delirious in the dread of night, never to be seen again. As Haskell was, perhaps as will I be. What happened to them, I don't know. I'm afraid to ask what happened, for I know that I would surely be the next one to be taken into darkness. The table is stacked full of occult items, far beyond anything Peter has experienced. He uncovers bizarre drawings of unnatural creatures, animated corpses, and other ethereal nightmares. Row upon row of books dedicated to occult lore and arcane science, from the ludicrous to the most hideously unholy. So, can you just open this door? Yes, you can. Now, what waits for you behind here? Trappers. Oh, that's a rat. We don't have to shoot that. Leave the poor rodent alone. Trappers, on the other hand, they have to go. A key lies upon the accursed shrine, glinting in the soft candlelight. The Binding Hole Key. Actually, let's take a look at the Binding Hole Key. An oddly shaped key carved from what appears to be a large bone. Smaller bones and fragments of other organic matter form the teeth and handle of the key. Yuck. Very macabre items when you think about it. Why are you not dead? Okay. I can hear trappers. Remember, Paul Luther was in this room, and he found the desecrated body of the custodian. Okay, I can hear, but I can't really see the other trappers. Oh, there's one. Now this is an important item. A milky blue bottle stands on the altar. We have the magical elixir. Has 5 uses. A small milky blue bottle stoppered with a chipped cork. This magical elixir will restore all of Peter's magical energy. So that's going to be a very, very important item in just a little bit. That is because Peter is going to have to use his magic almost entirely to deal with something coming up. And this way he won't have to walk around to replenish his magic, he'll just drink the potion. Should probably take this time to get our sanity back up. One of the commenters in the chat is mentioning that it's funny that he mistook William Hookins for Michael Bell. And was he the only one to do this? I would probably think, at least as far as this chat goes, probably. I don't think everybody puts as much weight into knowing or recognizing the different voice actors as some of us do. A soldier's cold, stiff body lies sprawled on the steps. Peter attempts to flip the corpse over to discover his identity, but all that is left of the man's face is a ruined mass of eaten flesh. Oh, we heard this already too, but look, there's a scroll on the wall. A scroll sits on a small shelf mounted upon the wall. Peter has acquired the Magical Attack spell scroll. Why would it be here of all places? Here, in this corridor? Well, there's a good reason for that. An aged scroll with magical equations and notes upon it. It reads, "This incantation saturates an area with aligned magical energy, inflicting massive damage to all enemies within its fluence. This magic will affect both large and small, for even the greatest of enemies are made of many small parts. This spell requires the Anthrobor and Ragamore runes." Alright, so there are only 3 more spells we need to find the scrolls for. Alright, that's the door. Beyond this door, Peter Luther, was it? No, it was Paul Luther, got killed by the Guardian. So we're going to save our game. And I am going to max out our shield here. And we're going in. The corridor is ended by an elaborate door, decorated in a manner much different than the others within the cathedral. Peter senses an unbearable evil beyond that door. When he reaches it to open it, fear creeps into his gut and begins to eat at his soul. And there is the artifact of Chattur'gha. Chattur'gha? But there's Xel'lotath. Xel'loths? Xel'loths. I'll get these names right eventually. Guardian. And while it casually killed Luther, it wants to play with Peter. So what it's going to do right now is just going to hover there and shoot magical energy at us. But you see how it's glowing right now? That means it's vulnerable. We want to attack it while it's vulnerable. Okay, I'm going to wait for it to fire one more time. Ah, dang it got us. Start glowing, you. No, get off. Ah, you missed. Okay. Fighting it with man-made weapons, meaningless, won't work. Nothing forged from the hands of man is going to affect this thing. Instead, we want to cast a... Well, we can cast any of them, but we want to cast Magical Attack. The higher the level of the magical attack, the more damage it will do. We can either use the opposing alignment, which is Chattur'gha here, or we could use Manta Rock. We're going to stick with Chattur'gha. Now, I was too late. We have to cast it while it's glowing with green energy. It doesn't have to be a 7.1. Oh, we don't have enough energy. Dang it. What did I miss? Alright, we'll try casting a weaker one. Now we got it. We hit it with a real weak one. There we go. That was a good one. Oh, really? cast that too soon. Not doing very good. Oh, this isn't gonna last. Oh no, we pulled it off. Okay. Sadly, we did not defeat it. Instead, it is pulling its magical barrier in to keep us even closer to it. And now it's summoning its zombies. Now, Xel'lotath zombies can be burnt. That's what we're going to do. No, too late. Now, if I can get the timing of this right, we can cast a level 7 magical attack on it, while it's in the middle of summoning its zombies. Alright, we're going to wait for the middle one to come in. And now we're going to start casting the level 7 version. Yes, we got it! Alright, it's pulling the rune into its body for protection, and now it's made the circle as small as possible. Okay, are you tired? Nope. Each Guardian's fight is pretty much, well, the same as this, but they have slightly different attacks. Oh, too late? Really? That's annoying. Okay, I guess those spells just take too long. We're gonna have to use the lower level ones. Ah, you missed me. You got me that time, though. now it is defeated. Good riddance. Let's go get Chattur'gha's artifact. The guardian of Xel'lotath vanquished, and the stained glass that kept it hidden lying in pieces. The essence of Chattur'gha is now liberated. Its magic beckons to Peter, calling to him. He approaches cautiously. Peter reaches out for the artifact, but pulls away as he feels its corrosive magics close on his hands. Wrapping his hands in a shred of clothing, he carefully lifts the artifact from its resting place. "69 years later."
And that was how I came by it. I know it sounds crazy, but there you have it. The only proof I have is that statue.
It's a strange one. I've seen one like it before.
You have?
Yes. Very rare, though. Very obscure.
I've had experts take a look at it, and none of them know what it is. And you do.
I'm somewhat of an expert on these things myself. An interest I developed a long time ago while I was a young man.
Then you should keep it. Lord knows I have no interest in it. I am sure it's the cause of my sleeplessness. I keep thinking about it, as if it's calling out to me.
Then a drink, perhaps. For the gift. For an unusual objet d'art.
And so is the story of Peter Jacob, another man who was able to survive the eternal darkness.